Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here.
He smiled for the cameras, begged for his family's safe return. But behind that calm face was a secret so dark it would shock the entire world.
We are also following the desperate search for a pregnant mother and her 2 young daughters mysteriously disappearing from their home in Colorado, north of Denver. The father saying he last saw his wife Monday morning after the two had a, quote, emotional conversation the night before.
This is the story of Chris Watts, the man who murdered his pregnant wife and 2 daughters and pretended to be the grieving husband on national television, a facade that crumbled under the weight of his own lies. But what could turn an ordinary husband into the architect of his own family's demise? Frederick, Colorado, a quiet, family-friendly town where life moved peacefully among rows of suburban homes. Chris and Shanann Watts lived what many called the American dream. A beautiful house, 2 daughters, Bella and Celeste, and a 3rd child on the way. Online, Shanann often posted videos showing a loving husband and doting father. But what the world saw was only a fraction of the truth. Shanann was ambitious and full of life. She worked hard in health and wellness sales, and her social media presence reflected her optimism.
Hey guys! We're here from the boat today.
And Chris was a quiet and soft-spoken guy, worked as an oil field operator. They appeared solid, unshakable, but beneath the surface, the marriage was unraveling. By mid-2018, Shanann sensed something was wrong. Chris had grown distant, detached from his family. Unbeknownst to her, he was having an affair with a co-worker, Nicole Kessinger, who believed he was separated. While Shanann spent the summer visiting family in North Carolina with the children, Chris stayed behind, spending time with Nicole, working out, and envisioning a new life without his wife and kids. When Shanann returned home in August 2018, tensions rose. Her messages to friends became filled with worry. She felt the emotional distance, the coldness in Chris's voice. What she didn't know was that he had already made up his mind. In the early hours of August 13th, 2018, Shanann returned home from a business trip. Ring doorbell footage captured her final moments alive. Stepping through her front door at 1:48 a.m.,
Here, Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. What's going on?
So my friend, we were out of town for a business trip this weekend.
All right.
And I dropped her off at 2 o'clock this morning. She's 15 weeks pregnant. She wasn't feeling well. And she had a doctor's appointment this morning at 9, and I told her to let me know if she needed me to take her. She's got 2 little girls.
Sometime between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., Chris Watts strangled his pregnant wife in their bedroom. He later told investigators she never screamed. Afterward, he wrapped her body in a bedsheet. Moments later, Bella and Celeste woke up. Still in their pajamas, they asked where their mother was. Chris told them Mommy was sleeping. Then, in a chilling act of pure evil, he loaded Shanann's body and his 2 daughters into his work truck, driving 45 minutes to an oil site, Anadarko Petroleum, owned by the company where he works. There, he buried Shanann's body in a shallow grave, and then smothered Bella and Celeste before placing their bodies into separate oil tanks. The reason? He said he wanted a fresh start. Later that morning, Chris texted Shanann's phone, pretending she was still alive. He called her friends, asking if they'd seen her. When Shanann's friend Nicole Atkinson grew suspicious and called police, officers arrived for a welfare check. Chris played the role of the confused husband perfectly. calm, cooperative, and polite. He invited officers into the house, showed them Shanann's purse, her phone, her keys, all still there. But his emotions didn't match the scene. No panic, no fear, just emptiness. That same day, he gave a televised interview, pleading for his family's return.
If she's vanished, like, I want her back so bad. I want those kids back so bad.
To the public, it seemed sincere. But to investigators, something felt off. His body language lacked grief, his words rehearsed, mechanical.
How far along?
14, 15 weeks.
During the initial investigation inside the Watts family home, something felt off. As investigators questioned Chris Watts, his body language told a story his words tried to hide. Chris stood with his arms in his head, rocking slightly, avoiding eye contact. Classic signs of anxiety and deceit. His voice stayed calm, too calm for a man whose wife and daughters were missing.
Talk to him. I'm going to get his info real quick. No.
Then, something chilling happened. Footage from the family's own TV camera suddenly switched, showing a disturbing image of a baby in a womb. Then, what looked like a skull submerged in oil. Coincidence? Or perhaps it was Shanann's spirit sending a message. A silent clue from beyond, revealing the horror buried in those oil tanks. The next day, detectives brought Chris in for questioning. He stuck to his story. Shanann took the kids and left. But FBI agents and Colorado Bureau investigators weren't convinced. They asked him to take a polygraph test, and he agreed.
So once she couldn't get anything out of her and nothing was going on at the house, I was like, all right, I gotta go home.
But it sounds like Nicole was more worried.
Yeah, because like most of if she doesn't text me, like I understand that.
Okay.
Like sometimes that happens.
Okay.
But for her not to get back to her direct sales group, that was very unorthodox.
Okay.
Only two ways you can fail a polygraph, okay? The first way would be if you fail to follow my instructions. I'm going to give you a lot of instructions today about how to sit still, how to answer questions, things like that. So if you fail to follow those instructions, you will not pass today's test, okay? The second way would be if you choose to lie to me today. Obviously, this is about 100% truth. Even if there's, something that you didn't tell the investigators, since Monday, I guess, is when the police were involved. If there's something that you didn't tell them since Monday, that is totally fine. I get it. People aren't going to remember every single detail every time they talk to someone. As long as you tell me what the truth is today, you will have no problem with passing, okay? I promise you that.
He failed the polygraph test. Miserably. When confronted, his facade began to crumble. First, he blamed Shanann, claiming she had killed the children, and he, in a fit of rage, killed her in response.
So, it was completely clear that you were not honest during the testing, and I think you already know that. You did not pass the polygraph test. Okay. So now we need to talk about what actually happened. And I feel like you're probably ready to do that.
But the evidence didn't match. A drone search later located disturbed ground near the oil site, leading investigators directly to the burial spot. On August 15, 2018, Chris Watts was arrested for the murder of his family. And as the truth surfaced, the world's disbelief turned to horror.
Pockets? Okay, go and face that other wall behind you. I'm just going to search you real quick. Search your legs. Further. Okay, turn around, face me. No earrings, necklaces, anything like that? Okay. Let's walk up this way. Straight. Go out that door to your left. Just eat.
Weeks later, during interrogation, Watts finally admitted what really happened. He strangled Shanann during an argument. When Bella and Celeste woke up, he drove them to the oil site, alive, before killing them there.
They found those children in tanks that were nearly full. And as I have learned from you, the full capacity of these tanks is somewhere between 600 and 700 barrels of oil. That's a lot.
The first tank was the one that had Cece in it. She was still in her nightgown. She'd just gone to bed. The second tank had Bella inside. I can't get that image out of my head.
The children's autopsy revealed traces of oil consistent with post-mortem exposure, meaning they were already gone before being placed into the tanks. That detail, perhaps more than anything, revealed the horrifying extent of his actions. A father disposing of his daughters as if they were nothing.
Imagine this, Your Honor. This defendant took those little girls and a hatch at the top of an oil tank, 8 inches in diameter. The defendant told investigators that Bella's tank seemed emptier than Cece's because of the sound that the splashes made. These were his daughters.
The girls are still in the truck.
Okay.
Did they ask you what you were doing, taking mommy out, or?
Yeah, I don't remember what I told them, but they did ask that.
What they say specifically?
It was more of like, what are you doing to mommy?
Okay. Alright. And then the girls, right? Okay. You mentioned Bella was first. Cece was first, okay. Where exactly was she when it happened?
In the back seat.
Okay. Was she just right next to Bella?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so once again, was it a hand over her face? Was it?
It was a blanket over and my hand.
And then your hand. Okay. And then so that just stopped her from breathing type thing? Okay. Did she struggle at all?
I don't think so, but I was blocking her face and my hand was right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You had one hand here and one hand over her mouth?
And were you just pushing her against the back of the seat type thing? Okay. What was Bella doing?
Just sitting there next to her. She didn't know what was going on.
Okay. Could she see you? Okay. And then went down to Bella. Tell me what happened there.
She said what happened to Cece. Or she asked it was the same thing, the exact same thing that happened to me as Cece.
Did she ask you that? Okay. So Bella's pretty smart. How did she sound when she asked you that, Chris?
She had that soft voice she always had.
Yeah. And what exactly did she say?
She said that it's the same thing that happened to me as Cece. And then I said, I don't even remember what I said.
Okay.
I don't know if I just said yes like a horrible person, or if I just put that blanket over her too and did the same thing.
Same blanket, same way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She said, no, Daddy. And that's the last thing she said.
Psychologists called Chris Watts a textbook case of psychopathic detachment, a man who viewed his family as obstacles rather than loved ones. He wasn't impulsive. He planned, deleting messages, covering tracks, manipulating emotions, and through it all, he can still smile. He was living 2 lives, one as the perfect father, another as a man desperate to start over with his mistress. When his fantasy collided with reality, he made a monstrous choice. His crime wasn't just a murder, it was an annihilation of identity, of innocence, of trust. In November 2018, Chris Watts pled guilty to 9 counts, including first-degree murder and unlawful termination of a pregnancy, to avoid the death penalty. He was sentenced to 5 life terms without parole.
And I respect that decision to request that the district attorney not seek the death penalty in this case. And so the court is going to accept this plea bargain under the circumstances.
Today, he remains in Dodge Correctional Institution in Waupunn, Wisconsin, serving his sentence in isolation. His letters to the outside world reveal a man haunted by guilt, or perhaps haunted by the loss of control. He told investigators he still dreams of his daughters, looking at their pictures inside cell. But even those dreams cannot wash away what he did. Even after his confession and conviction, Chris Watts' mother, Cindy Watts, continues to believe her son isn't a monster. Cindy has publicly questioned the official narrative, suggesting that Shanann might have been partly responsible, a claim investigators firmly rejected.
I don't believe it. I didn't believe they were missing. I believe that she was going to punish Chris. She was just going to punish him, take the girls, and just punish him. I had no idea.
To this day, Cindy maintains contact with Chris through letters and phone calls from Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. Even behind bars, she still calls him my son, holding on to a version of him that only a mother could believe in.
This isn't what I wanted for you.
This isn't what I wanted either, trust me.
I know, hon.
This nightmare has to be over for everybody.
Meanwhile, far from that house of shadows, on North Carolina soil, Shanann and her daughters were laid to rest. 3 caskets lined up bore witness to a grief no words could contain. Shanann's father, Frank Ruchek, stood over his daughter's casket, his voice breaking as he whispered a final goodbye. His tears told the story words could never capture. The pain of a father burying not just his child, but his entire legacy of love. Nicole Kessinger, the woman involved with Chris Watts, disappeared from public view after the murders. She cooperated with investigators, later changing her identity and leaving Colorado behind. In early 2025, unconfirmed reports surfaced online claiming she was seen at the burial of a friend's mother in Montana. But authorities and credible sources have not verified this sighting. To this day, Kessinger has never been charged with any crime. Her story remains one of silence, speculation, and escape from the shadow of a name the world can't forget. In the end, Chris Watts' perfect life was only a mask, one that slipped long enough to reveal the true face beneath.